Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pretty Well Read. I'm Mariah, your hostess, and today we have a very special guest, my friend Serah Ladhani.
Hello. Hi,
And,
everybody. Mostly me from the future.
and Arisha, and our friends and family for sure, at the very least. We're starting small, but
Very true.
but we're ambitious.
Yeah.
And today's book we're going to be discussing is The Seven Moons of Maali Almeida from Shehan Karunatilaka. I think I'm pronouncing that close-ish to right. South Asian names I find are pretty phonetically accurate. But if I misspeak, I'm sorry. And I tried to look up interviews where he introduced himself, but they're all very slick and just cut right into the questions, and he never introduces himself. And I'm like, damn it. Have you heard any pronunciations of it, Serah?
No, but I think you did it right. I would have said it the same way.
Okay, thank you. A very pageant
Yeah.
queen answer. I appreciate it. This book won the Booker Prize in 2022 and was a buzz in all the book spaces. So if it's your first time to Pretty Well Read, what Serah and I are going to do is in the first section of the podcast, we're going to talk about Sarah's relationship to reading, and maybe a little bit of mine, depending on how that goes. But you've heard it from me before. And then section 2, we're going to get into a discussion on the Seven Moons of Maali Almeida in a non-spoiler way. And then in the last section of the podcast, we're going to talk spoilers, baby. So you can drop off at any point in the podcast you'd like, or stick around for the whole thing if you don't mind a spoiler or two. Was that Rita in the background that I heard?
Wait, you can hear it?
Sarah has a sweet Italian cat named Rita.
I have the echo cancellation thing on. Is that okay?
No, it's fine. It was like super, super faint, and I think it was really cute. And I love having an additional guest on the podcast. So, yeah.
Awesome.
But we'll dive right into section 1 and talk about relationship to reading here. But before we do that, I will ask you, how did we meet, Serah?
Mariah, we met at work. We both worked at the same company. 2021. That's 5 years ago now. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
We were both in sales, and now we're both not.
Thank God. We met initially because Serah and I were on the same sales team, but before getting a job on the sales team, you have to pilot for your role. And so I met Serah during my pilot project, and we went bouldering together, and Serah and I were equally bad at the sport. And we met there and befriended each other.
Yes, true. I forgot we went bouldering together.
Yeah.
I remember when you gave me a hug, even though you didn't want to, because you're like, I want the job. Or you wanted to make a good impression. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to make like a normal impression. I'm not the most like hug forward woman, but I was like, I will hug this nice lady who goes for it, so as not to like reject her initiation for friendliness.
No, that was so fun. We were both so bad. I went recently as well, and it's so scary. I don't know how people do it. It's very high, and fall risk is super, high as well.
So I would love to hear, walk us through like when you got into reading. Are your family big readers? What kind of influenced you, and where'd you pick it up?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this question, and I remember for me the big aha moment when I can think back and remember to when I started reading was I started reading pretty late. So in 8th grade, Arisha borrowed one of the Harry Potter books from her library, the second one, and it just sat on our table for a few days, and I picked it up and I just read the first page. And prior to that, I think I used to look at books as like, okay, they're yellow and I don't know their words, and I can't imagine reading them. But something about that book and how it was written, I finished it in one weekend, and that was the first, I think, book that I ever read. And then it kind of continued from there. So that was kind of like the gateway book, I would say. And then just continued reading. Like I think when I was growing up, like all of those like dystopian series were really up and coming. So The Hunger Games, Divergent, all of those, like read those series, and then branched out to like I would say like Khaled Hosseini books and things like that. But it really started, I would say I started reading late. I felt like everybody around me was already reading, but like grade 8, when I was about 12 years old, is when I started reading for reals.
I feel like grade 8 is still pretty young because a lot of people
You
our
think
age
so?
now, because it's like
Yeah.
trendy-ish in certain spaces,
Mm,
are like I picked it up in adulthood or after high school.
yeah.
Also, so you picked up Arisha's copy of The Chamber of Secrets. You started with book 2.
Yeah.
That's so chaotic.
Isn't it? And I think I think I went straight to 6 after that and I didn't understand anything. And then I went back to 1 and then read it in order.
Oh, if I could go back in time and like see you finish like The Chamber of Secrets, I'm gonna be like, wait till you hear about first in a series. It's gonna blow your mind.
And I think maybe I'd watched the movie and I thought that would be enough. And for
Mhm.
2, it was enough. But for
Yeah.
6, it was nowhere near enough. You know,
No.
they skipped so much. And
Yeah.
so,
So did you
yeah.
just assume like, oh, there are 6 of them, not that it was sixth in order to read? Is that what you thought? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I think I must have thought the movies were enough to fill the gaps,
Oh,
you
sure,
know?
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And they were not.
yeah. I still like, I think that actually, Maria, now that you pointed out, I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I love a book that confuses me where I don't know what's going on. Like, that's part of what I enjoy most about reading. And so that might have been the
Fascinating.
start of like the types of books that I like as well, just like not
Yeah.
understanding what's going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually actually, I would like to, zoom in on this now because I have so many friends who are trying to start reading, but they are like, I feel like I have to pay attention to every single little thing and I can't miss a
Yeah.
thing or else like I'm gonna be mad later. I'm gonna be frustrated later. Like they can't stand the thought of being in the dark at all, so it just puts them off
Yeah.
reading completely. But you like
Hmm.
being in the dark.
Oh, I love it so much. Like, Arisha's like, anytime I recommend a book to her, she knows she's not gonna understand it. And I recommended a book to her recently, and she's like, this is making too much sense to be a recommendation from Sarah. And
Yeah.
then it took a turn, and then she's like, okay, I get it now.
Oh my God.
But it's like, and I think that kind of plays into magical realism a little bit, where you just have to believe,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole point of reading, I don't know, I like it's escapism a little bit, or like
Sure.
we experience linear storytelling or like linear lives all the time too. I like to like not know and to just like read beautiful passages. I would say like
Yeah.
even Martyr, I don't know if you felt that way, but it wasn't very like, well, it was linear a little bit, but like when I found out the book was written by a poet, it made so
Mhm.
much sense. I was like, the book makes sense if you digest each
Yeah.
piece and you don't see it as like a one full story. Does that make
True.
sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think too. So, Sarah's referencing Kaveh Akbar's Martyr, which came out in 2020, late 2024, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
slapped. But yes, I think you can definitely see when people have like poetic influences in their writing. That's a really great book. That's a great blend of it's like very lyrical passages, but he gives you enough of a structured plot to like base them around. Like he like balances that super beautifully. So you're still invested and not too in the dark, but you get to kind of like wallow and take your time and enjoy the ride he's taking you on.
Or if we even think about, you know, the book we both read, Kim Fu's short stories,
Yes, incredible.
those I would say were confusing. Where you're like, what is happening? But I like it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like with it, if anybody who wants to kind of dip their toes into like something a little more confusing, a short story is great because it's going to be over in 10 pages. You don't have to like commit or be afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so funny. So you started out with Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets particularly, and you have since
Mhm.
left reading books by turfs, as we all have.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's literally when I was going through this story in my head, I was like, I have to mention this, but thank you for remembering to mention.
No worries. I'll put it on record. Sarah's staunchly
Yeah.
anti-turf,
Yes, ma'am.
which is good. So you
Yeah.
started out with kind of like that was fantasy, and you said you read kind of like dystopian or like apocalyptic kind of teen stuff, and then confusing stuff. What
Hmm.
would you say you like to read now? Is there anything of like beyond lyrical or confusing that you would say you like to read?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say that that's still pretty much like I like a good confusing book. So
Mhm,
actually, when you messaged me to do the podcast,
mhm.
Mariah, I was reading a book called The Master and the Margarita. Mariah. And
Oh.
when I opened up Seven Moons to reread it, in the
Mhm.
first page it said, if you enjoyed this book, it's like The Master and the Margarita. And I was like, whoa, that's so
No
crazy.
way.
Yeah, and so those kinds of book I'd say I really like romance as well. So
Yeah.
Sally Rooney, Emily Henry, Tia Williams.
Mhm.
And then if there's a story that can blend the both of those as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
uh,
love that. You know, technically Sally Rooney is not romance, so I think that's a really great example of blending the both.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't belong in romance. So romance
Hmm.
typically by like book category genre, it has to be like the romance has to be the A plot, which it is in some of her books, but not all of them. And it has to end in
Hmm.
a happy ending, which they definitely don't always end in a happy ending, but it has to be categorized as romance in the bookstores.
Oh, no way. It has to
Mhm.
have a happy ending.
Yeah, to be romance. Yeah.
So Romeo and Juliet wouldn't be romance.
No, that's a classic.
Oh, fair.
But it also, that's a great example. No, it wouldn't be romance. It would be like if it was
Oh.
written yesterday by Billy Shakespeare, it would be in like contemporary times. It wouldn't be in romance.
Ah, okay. Also
Hmm.
interesting. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah,
And yeah, I would say those are like the two types of books I like to read, but I don't box myself into that. Like, so if
yeah.
someone gives me recommendations that are outside of that, or if I think something's interesting outside of that, I'll read it.
Hmm.
But I think these are what I enjoy the most.
Yeah, cool. I love that. And speaking of recommendations, do you engage in like bookish communities or like do you stay pretty siloed with like what you read or like how do you engage if at all with book content?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, Mariah, I will say like 2023 and starting with like the Seven Moons,
Hmm.
you kind of changed the way I read entirely. So, I
Oh.
owe a lot of like my reading habits and what I read to you. I think before that I was in a slew of reading like nonfiction and just like
Hmm.
really really like not so nice stories, but yeah, so one I would say you, and I count you as kind of like a bookish like
Entity?
influencer. Like, yeah, like I follow like the books you read, like you recommend stuff to me all the time.
Mhm.
We were in two
True.
book clubs together, so I would say you.
Yeah,
And
same.
and then I also I'm on Book Talk as well. So before the coffee gets cold, it was actually just I saw a TikTok of someone crying, and she was like, "Please read this book," and I was like, "Okay, I will." Uh,
That's so funny.
so yeah, and I think I even found Emily Henry the same way, where someone was ranking their favorite books, and they said, if you're like this, then you'll enjoy this book, this book,
Sure.
this book, and so that's how I found those. And then Jack Edwards, I watch his videos all the time. I
Yeah,
enjoy.
yeah, me too. And we also both follow like Eamon's
And
books. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Who's also
yeah,
like
amen.
who's also in like the kind of the Jack Edwards sphere and like his crew of
Hmm.
influencers.
Right.
Um,
And Sivan reads as well. I think
Amazing. Hmm.
yeah, so she's the person who's just crying and she's like, read this book.
That's so funny that you say that. I was gonna ask, what is it about like I'm crying, read this that like it compels you enough? Like, why do you like to be sad and read, Sarah?
I just want to feel. I just want to feel emotions. Like when the page gets blurry, yes, please.
Yeah.
It just means that someone wrote something so good that it
Mhm.
moves you. Someone who knows it's a book to tears. Oof, I love. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I agree. I'm with you too. I love something devastating. That's a great way to put it. I think it's
Yeah.
like such a great way to connect with somebody's art. Like it's like when you
Right?
cry at a painting, it's
Mm.
like crying at a book. It's like I connected with what you created so deeply, it moved me, and I think that's like so human.
Yes, I was just gonna say the human experience. I have this quote by Baldwin that I have on top of like my reading notion, and
Oh,
it's like you think you're alone in kind of like what you're feeling or you're suffering or something like that, and you read a book and you realize that like 100 years ago someone felt the exact same way. I don't know,
yeah.
it's just so nice and connecting to be able to read other
Mhm.
people's experiences and things like that and to feel
Yeah.
them as deeply too.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think, and I also, that's so funny you say that. I just read my first Baldwin of
Yeah.
ever, like as my last read. And one of the biggest takeaways was like, I can't believe how timeless it is. And that's so correct. Like it was pubbed in 60 some. And I was like, this reads like it was published yesterday. Like it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, are there any genres you won't touch?
Um, Good question. I've never read a true horror book.
Mm.
Like, I know we read the book club's guide to playing vampires or
Yes, the
something like
Grady
that.
Hendrix
Yeah.
book.
Yes, but that one felt more like coming of age. It was not coming of age, but it felt very like there was humor in it as well.
Mhm, mhm.
But that's not to say I wouldn't go there. Like when I watched your first podcast episode and I learned so much about Joe Hill, I had no idea that all of that happened, that he wrote, like
Mhm.
under a different pen name and things like that. So maybe I would, I just have not read it ever.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't imagine being scared. You know what I mean? Like reading a book and being like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen
Yeah,
next?
yeah, yeah.
Like scared.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would argue that that is still true horror because it can have like humorous elements, but it doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily have to have a ton of like suspense, which is maybe like what you're looking for in a horror book, but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you'd like it.
Maybe I should give it a try. Honestly, I added the book to my TBR when I watched the first episode. I was like, maybe I
Aw.
should try this one. Hmm.
Yeah, let me know what you think. And what would you say makes like what's a 5-star read to you?
That's a good question. I would say something like what we just read would be a five-star book, something that's executed so perfectly from start to end. You
Mhm.
can tell that there's thought put into where the story is going to go straight from the start. And like I said, a little bit confusing. Like I like the wording to be a little bit poetic or lyrical. I don't know, like
Mhm.
for it to paint an image for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, like just something that's well executed from start to end.
I love that. Would you say then you're like pretty liberal with your 5 stars? I kind of am.
I give 4 stars very, very easily, but five not so.
Okay, so 5 has to be like, this is gonna stick with me,
Yeah,
you
like
think?
this is a book I'm gonna recommend to
Mm,
people is a 5-star book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. The recommendation is like the differentiating factor. I totally get that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I also like to ask about DNF rates, do not finish rates. There have been a few answers across the board. Two of us so far, well, three of us, including myself, have said that we if DNF'd 3 to 5 books ever. And then my friend Elaine was like, I DNF left, right, and center. So that's fascinating. So how often do you DNF books?
That's crazy to DNF every other book. I not crazy in the sense that I wish I could do that.
Mhm.
I
I respect it.
rarely, yeah, I respect it exactly. I rarely DNF books, I would say. There was one that I couldn't finish a couple of years ago. You know the one that's all the light we can't see.
Yes, Anthony Doerr, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. For some reason, I just could, everything was a description and I couldn't get past like the beginning even like
Okay.
and I tried very, very hard. So that was the last one I DNF'd and it was a couple of years ago, but I don't do it
Mhm.
very often. Like even when we read Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude, I feel like that one was one that was worthy of DNFing, but we powered through,
Yeah,
But
we both white knuckled it, like updating each other, like, okay, 150 pages left. Okay, 87 pages left.
And sometimes it felt like I would be reading for hours and I've read like 2 pages. That one is really hard. So I
Mhm.
I don't DNF too often
Yeah.
because I like to see a story to completion. Like you never know which ones will surprise you.
Yeah. Maybe like exactly. Maybe you're 80% of the way through and maybe the end will like be like, "Oh, the end was worth it." Because that happens a lot. Or maybe at the
Yeah.
end you're like the ending sucked and then you have like something to talk about.
Right? Yeah, no, I agree completely. Yeah, 100%. And for me, the hardest part of a book is the beginning, like the
Yeah.
setting up of a book. So I always try to at least power through that. And then if I'm
Mhm.
like 50 but I don't know, man, the one like all the light we can't see, that one I just couldn't do it. But they made it a Netflix series, so I was like,
Oh.
maybe I'll watch that, then I'll go back to the book. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Maybe you'll have a like a I like the series better than the book situation.
Mhm.
But if you don't like the series, can you let me know so you can like double dunk on the book so I can enjoy it?
Yeah, for sure. I also don't have Netflix right now, so whenever I do get access to it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Mm.
I just have a couple more questions here. Some we kind of like touched
Yeah.
on with other answers, but a big one for us in particular as readers is we both make a conscious effort to read pretty diversely. Why would you
Mhm.
say like it's kind of like a silly question, but a lot of people don't make that effort, but why do you think reading diversely is so important?
Oh, wow. Yes, 100% such a conscious effort. And I love that we talk about this time and time again. And our recommendations to and from each other are always, by diverse authors as well.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to learn about others' experiences, to like,
Hmm.
we only walk this life in our own shoes, right? So,
True.
like, when we get the opportunity to read books by people who've led different kind of lives, who come from different places, I think it only makes our understanding of the world better. Like,
Hmm.
if we talk about the Seven Moons, I learned about their civil war. I would have never learned that.
Hmm.
And I even have like I have Sri Lankan friends and
Hmm.
they've never talked to me about it, but then now I can go to them and I can say, "Hey, this is something that I know about." Not that I would bring up the topic like out of the blue, but I just mean it's something to
Oh, you remember the war?
Hey, you want to talk about war? but, but I just mean it's such a nice way to like get an understanding. And I think
Mhm.
that books from different places, they or like by different people, they like they're written differently. They give you a different I just like on the same point, they give you a different understanding of the world. Like
Yeah.
every time I read a book by like a Japanese author, I'm like blown away by like some of the cultural things they do that maybe are
Mhm.
similar or dissimilar to what I do as well. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's just such a good learning opportunity, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I'm with you. I think you said it very well. I just think it adds like more color, not no pun
Mhm.
intended, to the world we live in, right? Like, and I think
Ah,
too, it's is if it's not obvious already, but like the publishing industry, like every system we have, spotlights and gives representation to white people first and prominently and foremost. But there's obviously so many talents and great contributions from like people of all races and types and intersections. And so I think like, you don't have to be like, okay, now I got to read a black person book and like check a
mhm.
box. Like go with like earnest intentions to find something you can connect with, and there will be more than enough for you to go read, right? Like you don't it's not a diversity checklist, but just go earnestly connect with like an author of color's work, and it's never going to be something you're going to regret. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, Mariah, like the industry is so, biased
Right.
towards one type of writer
Yeah.
that if someone has made it through and they've put forth their work in, like they've managed to get through that, can you imagine how incredible it must be as well?
Yeah, true.
Like the Baldwin book was so good. I
Hmm.
was so blown away. And for him to have made it through and published that in the 60s,
Yeah.
insane, Like it was work that like the world had to see. It was
Yeah.
so good.
True. Great
Mm.
point. Have you read, by the way, it's on my TBR, Civil Everett's James. Have you read that one yet? It's
No, I haven't.
okay, it's Tom Sawyer, like the adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, but from
Mm.
the like slave boys perspective.
I've heard of this
It's
book. I
it's like
think
won a bunch of awards, is very like well
yeah.
regarded as it should be, but it's on my TBR card because I know I'm gonna love it so much, and so I'm saving it for when I really need a banger to bring me out of a slump. I'm like scared to read it, Sarah, because I know it's gonna hit so hard.
Oh my goodness, Mariah, I'm gonna add it to my list for this year. I think I saw Jack Edwards had it in one of his videos, and
Always,
that's how I found out about.
yeah.
Yeah, I found out about it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I remember taking note of this one as well.
Yeah, I
We'll
like
add
it
it.
away, but I'm like scared to pick it up because I'm like I'm gonna love. I'm nothing's gonna
I
compare to it.
I'm on your side here. When you're in that slump and you really need something to pull you out, that's when you should pick out this book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a in case of emergency open book situation.
Yeah.
And my last question, Sarah, for this section is just we talked like about a few of them, but do you have some other fave books off the top of your head? We talked about Martyr, some
Mm.
Sally Rooney. What else are some faves? Not Anthony
Yeah.
Doerr.
No. Oh my goodness. So I've only started documenting the books I've read
Hmm.
since 2021. So before that, I can't even remember half the stuff I read.
Hmm.
But I always start with Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. I really like that book. For the longest time, it was my go-to. Like every time someone had a birthday or I was visiting someone, it would be, "Hey, this is my gift to you, a copy
Yeah.
of Trevor Noah's Born a Crime." So, so, so good.
Yeah.
I really like Chimamanda's writing style as well,
Hmm.
Americana, that you guys got me for one of my birthdays
Hmm.
this year. Arisha brought back Purple Hibiscus from Nairobi, so I'm gonna try and read that one.
Oh, nice.
I really liked 15 Dogs, the one that you recommended a couple of years ago as
Mm.
well. That was one of the books that brought me me to tears as well. I think it's just a bad
Same here.
combination to have such beautiful writing and then like a story about animals on top of that. I was like, no,
Yeah, yeah.
not the dog.
That's a perfect like
Um,
guarantee cry. And Andre Alexis
yeah.
won the Giller for that in 2015, and he is also a Canadian author. Hmm.
Yeah, so 15 Dogs is really good. Um, yeah, I think I really liked The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I know that that one is one that everybody says to read and like is on a lot of people's favorites list, but it's such a small book, and I read, I would say last year or the year before, I hadn't read it before that. It's
Hmm.
so nice. And there's like pictures in the book and everything too. I haven't read a picture book in so long, you know?
Yeah.
I really like that one as well. Yeah, I would say those books really stuck out to me in the past couple of years.
Hmm.
And I read Mahmoud Darwish for the first time last year, which was more poetry, less
Hmm.
books. But even that, like I try to read some poetry as well. And I know poetry, like poetry, you're supposed to read it and you're supposed to dissect line after line. But I
Hmm.
don't really like that. I just read the poem.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. Like, I think you can
Yeah.
kind of like choose your own adventure when it comes to poetry, but that's so
Right?
cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I would say those. Thank you for asking.
Of course, I've got many. If you love to be asked stuff, just buckle in, Sarah. I've got so many things to ask
Okay,
you.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
But all right, that concludes the first section of the podcast. Stick around, and we'll talk about the Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka, with no spoilers in the next section. Cue music. All
Can
right.
I ask you questions back sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. We are both here. We both read
Okay.
it. But
Yes. Okay.
for before welcome to section 2, by the way, everyone. Before I start, I last time I forgot to read the plot summary. I had to like cut it in Nick's episode, so I will read the back of the book. If you haven't checked out The Seven Moons of Mali Amida and have no idea what it's about, this will enlighten you. So Colombo in 1990, Mali Almeida, war photographer, gambler, and closet queen, has woken up dead in what seems like a celestial visa office. His dismembered body is sinking in the serene Bira Lake, and he has no idea who killed him. In a country where scores are settled by death squads, suicide bombers, and hired goons, the list of suspects is depressingly long, as the ghouls and ghosts with grudges who cluster around can attest. But even in the afterlife, time is running out for Mali. He has 7 moons to contact the man and the woman he loves most and lead them to the photos that will rock Sri Lanka. A rip-roaring state of the nation epic from one of Sri Lanka's foremost authors, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida is a thrilling read that offers equal parts mordant wit and disturbing, profound truths. So that's what she's about. I want to kick off with the standard. How'd you hear about the book, and why did you pick it for the podcast, Sarah?
So heard about this book at our book club, our work book club in 2023. Yours truly, Mariah put it forward. And then I just remember reading the plot on the Excel sheet and voting for it immediately. It was the
Mhm.
same kind of, I think I don't know where you pulled it from, but it was so short and very like 7 moons. He has to figure out who killed him, and like in Sri Lankan culture, like that's how it works. And that's kind of the story we have to take it through. So when I read it through the first time, like, sorry, Mara, what was the question?
How did you hear about the book, and why did you pick it for the podcast?
Yeah, okay. So then the second part of why did I pick it for the podcast? The first
Mm.
time I read it, I read the first 100 pages in one sitting. Like, and that
Oh,
rarely,
wow.
if ever, happens to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was so locked in. I thought it was beautiful. And
Mhm.
so I read the first 100 pages in one sitting, and then I took my time with the rest of it, which is
Mhm.
different the second time around, but we'll talk about that.
Mhm.
And it was so good. And usually when I read books, I kind of forget what it was about, but I remember how it made me feel.
Yeah.
So this was one of those books where I just remember it being so perfect.
Mhm.
And I've actually gifted this. I would say like I've given this book out to 3 other people. And I I don't remember the content, and so reading it back, I'm like, okay, this is what I recommended to other people. And
Yeah.
it was good. Yeah, it's such a good book. And so I just remember that one, this was the book that kickstarted this type of reading where it's like a
Mhm.
little bit of magical realism. It's a little
Mhm.
bit different from, just linear storytelling, or not linear storytelling. I would say like just your regular, like grounded in reality book.
Yep.
And yeah, I just remember feeling so good after finishing this book the first time.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that I guess I didn't remember that you read such a big chunk in such a sitting, because you're not normally like a binge reader. You kind of like
Mm-mm, not at
sampler
all.
platter your books. You kind of
Yeah.
breathe.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you know that. Yeah. And so it was such a big deal for me to read 101 sitting, and I was reading it this time. I'm like, how did I do that? One, how did I have that much time? But two, that the, like the
Yeah.
concentration too.
Yeah, it pops off. Well, that's so I didn't know you gifted it out so much either. Move over, Trevor Noah. That's so funny.
Actually, it
Mhm.
replaced him for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, my
Yeah.
second question too, Sarah, was like, do you remember your initial impression after reading the plot synopsis? Like, I know, like the few words I put in our book voter spreadsheet really caught you. But did you end up even reading the full plot synopsis, or did you just jump in?
I just jumped in based on that, and I think it kind of like plays into like liking not knowing where books are going to go. So
Yeah.
that much was enough,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was good. Like I wanted to read based on that.
Yeah. How liberating. I love that you have trust in authors to just take you on a journey. What's that like?
I do, I do, but you do too, no?
Yeah, no, I do. You're right. We both have that.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
What did you so like kind of famously, so for those who like are new to reading or don't write or whatever, typically when you write, you can write in first person point of view. So like I did this, I did that. You can write in second person, you did this and you did that. Or third person would be like a narrator. Third person is like Bob did this and then after that Bob did that. Really eloquent way of explaining that. But typically
That's great.
I would say 95% or maybe even more of fiction novels are from the first or third perspective. Like when you think about it, you it's always either a narrator or like you are in their shoes. But Karunatilaka was like unique in the sense that he wrote this book just from the second perspective. So it's very like you woke up in the celestial visa office and the first thing you asked yourself was ABC. It's so hard to accomplish because it really like makes people feel disjointed from the plot, but he did this so flawlessly that it kind of made me think, why doesn't everybody do this? But what did you think about the second person style of writing?
Oh my goodness, I loved it. And I remember it being something that I noticed the first time we read it
Mhm,
because we discussed it in book club after. And
mhm,
then I forgot. And then I started reading it again. I was like, whoa, this is in second person.
mhm,
So cool. And so risky too, because like how many of us have had that kind of life experience, but still when he tells like when it says you in the book, I'm
mhm.
so immersed and I'm so invested
Yeah,
and I want to figure out who, my killer was,
right.
like so good. I don't know how he did it. And it's so tough to pull off. Like, I watched
Mhm,
a video about writing in second person. It might have been one of his own like interviews. I don't remember. But after reading this book, I went on YouTube and I was looking, and
mhm,
it said like very few books are written in the second person because
mhm.
it's very hard to engage your reader in that way
Yeah,
too. And I never felt for once that I wasn't engaged because I was the subject, like, or because he was saying you the entire time.
right. I don't
Crazy.
know if it's like the humor or what it is, but there's something about his writing that makes you go, "Of course, me. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
What else did I do?" And you just kind of like let him take you that way.
Yeah, it's so good. Like that was the one of the first things that stood out to me this time that I completely forgot from the first time I read it, and it was so beautiful to go through the journey again in second person. It was so
That
nice.
that's so funny. That's like one of the we'll get into it more, but that's one of the few things I remembered. I was like, I'm ready to jump back into this second person POV. I forgot major plot point things, and we will touch on that in a moment. But I do remember his writing style.
Like I have a note. I was taking notes this time because I knew we were gonna speak about it, and I
Yeah.
wrote second person, comma, so interesting, exclamation mark.
Just yeah, plain and simple. I love it. That's so funny. I
Yeah.
was looking up his writing influences, and a big one for him, of course, was Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the father of magical realism. People would say he wrote *100 Years of Solitude*. So magical realism being, you have a character and a story in like a normal like a timeline, like life as we know it, history as we know it, but there are like subtle elements of magic that don't quite make it fantasy, but it's realistic magic, it's magical realism. How, like, do you have any thoughts on the way Marquez like kind of employs magical realism versus the way Karuna Talaka does? thoughts.
Yeah. I also I don't want to be disrespectful towards, Marquez is like so like he set the I would say tone, but it was so the only so, okay. So for Marquez, I read 100 Years of Solitude, which we did for our book club.
As well,
But then
yeah.
I went on to read two more of his books. I
Oh,
was like, maybe I just got it wrong the first time because I really didn't enjoy it the first time.
mhm.
So I read one was called Memories of My Melancholy Horse. I think that was the name of the book.
Hell yeah.
And then the second, I can't remember the name. So I gave him two more tries.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's because it's translated from Spanish. It doesn't like maybe like it reads more
Mhm,
magical or better in Spanish, but I found that Marquez's magical realism, the magical realism part of it was really nice. Like I still remember that, they in 100 Years of Solitude, like they were in this village and like
mhm,
things that were strange were happening and they had many generations of people experiencing this. But
mhm,
like for this book,
mhm,
I would say that it feels like the magical realism or the writing style is in HD or in so much focus. Like I can picture everything, it flows very nicely,
mhm.
versus Marquez's felt very like hazy for me. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't like it was long paragraphs that were hard to follow and I wasn't able to like picture what he wanted me to picture. And so it's crazy that like the two books are compared because they're not even I would never like they in my mind they're so different. I wouldn't even make the connection that it's the same kind of writing or the same genre even, but that's like my thoughts and opinion on it. What do you think, Mariah?
Yeah, that's actually so funny that you say that. HD is a great way to put it. I was just gonna say that The Seven Moons for me was a lot more of a concrete example of magical realism. So it's like the exact same thing. It's like Marquez's writing was, like, undoubtedly beautiful, but it, like, kind of, like, took you off vaguely on a hot air balloon where you were like, "I can kinda see the ground, but I can't really see the ground," and you're kinda up in the, "I don't know where I am." Whereas, like, Karunatilaka's is like you're on a bullet train. It's like you're firmly rooted on the ground and you know where you're going with the destination of the magical realism, and it's just, like, a little more I wouldn't say handholdy, but I think concrete is like, okay, this makes sense. And this it in that way too, it made it seem more real.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. It's exact same thoughts and feelings towards it too. I
Yeah.
think Marquez's was more fluffy.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
His writing versus it felt like this author really picked his words
Mhm,
and like if he could have done something in two paragraphs, he found a way to do it in one.
mhm. Yeah, no, exactly. I'll also say that one of the influences for this book and this writing style is also Kurt Vonnegut's writing. Do you know who Kurt Vonnegut is, Sarah?
Mm-mm, no.
Oh, he didn't write Polaniuk wrote Fight Club. Uh Kurt Vonnegut
Fight.
wrote Slaughterhouse-Five, if you've
Ooh,
heard of
Fight Club
that
is
one.
based off a book?
Yep.
I did not
He
know.
wrote Cat's Cradle, and he wrote, Mother Night, The Sirens of Champion, but I would say Cat's Cradle and Slaughterhouse-Five are the most popular. It's really like, that kind of, like we talk about vulgar things in sex, and we say "fuck" a lot, and it's very kind of, like, rough around the edges, dark comedy, and, like, I can really see those influences come through in this book, which I'm sure you can too.
Really? I've never, yeah, for sure. I've never heard of those books, but I'm going
Okay.
like if you think it's comparable and if you can see the influences in a positive way too, I'll
Mhm.
add them to my TBR.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think I haven't gotten to them yet because I find my edge elsewhere. Like I'll get to them eventually, but it's Kurt Vonnegut is like a legend. He and like Chuck Palahniuk and Christopher Moore are very like we write edgy fiction. That's like not horror or suspense or not lyrical, but it's kind of in its own edgy
Oh
category.
my goodness. I'm so excited actually. Yes,
Yeah,
I'll note this down. I'll read by
yeah.
the end of this year. I have a lot of space in my TBR this year. Like I just have like two books that's on there now, and so yeah,
With
excited.
that,
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
yeah, get
I'm pretty sure I've just forgotten the rest of the ones that I want to read. I don't have an active list.
That is so funny. Okay, I also wanted to ask too, in a non-spoilery way, which I'm sure will be fine. Who are your favorite and least favorite characters?
Mm. So I don't remember the first time around who my favorite characters were,
Mhm.
but this time I really, really liked the doctor who was kind of like guiding him and telling him go get your ear checked. And
Dr.
so
Rani,
is
yeah.
it Doc?
Me
Yeah.
too.
I loved her character so, so, so much. She was
Mhm.
my favorite one this time around. And I also developed like Jackie. I remember her being a prominent figure the first time around, but this time I actually like I like I read, I was like, oh my gosh, she has so much love for him that she went
Mhm.
above and beyond compared to all of the other characters in the book. So I
Mhm.
think those two I really, really like this time around.
Mhm.
And then for least favorite characters, oh wait, was that spoiler?
No, I don't
Was
think
that
so at
spoiler?
all.
No?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't think I have any least favorite characters. You?
Yeah, it's so funny. I would also say Dr. Rani and Jackie were both in my heads, and heads, my multiple heads. And I think it's interesting because it's like they're both heroic, brave, show heart and loyalty and love. Like both of them are kind of like lead with those intentions. And like I noticed that they're both like there aren't a ton of women but they're both women. So like I don't know if that makes me like them more. I don't know if it's like, yeah, women do your
Must be
women
the
thing.
same for me.
I don't
Yeah,
know, but
for
that
sure.
rings true for both of them. And I also like I just thought the character was really like kind of cute and helpful and unsung in the book is the Sparrow Boy who works for the Crow Uncle.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, without him, the story would have fallen apart.
Unsung hero. Yeah. So
Oh my
cute.
goodness. Also, side note, Mariah, I noticed
Mhm.
this whole book they reference to God as being a woman, like
Yes.
without a doubt, like in every point, just because
Hmm.
you mentioned that. And
Hmm.
I was talking to Risha about this, and she's like, yeah, in Buddhism and Hinduism, like
Hmm.
God is a woman. Like
Oh, I
that's
didn't know
like
that.
me too. And see, that's why we read books by diverse authors, because I didn't know that either.
Yeah, that
And
always
so she
comes
went
back to
through
that.
Wikipedia, yeah, and
Yeah.
like told me everything. I was like, wow, I had no idea. And I thought that that
Aw.
was really cool as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is super cool. Interesting. Yeah, as far as least favorite characters, I'm not sure because even the like unlikable ones like Senna and Mahakali and like the evil on paper ones are like they're there to serve a purpose. So like can I really hate them?
No. Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
That's why I didn't have any least ones too.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, twinsies. And so the book spans the timeline of some of the real events of the Sri Lankan Civil War, but it's also really darkly funny. And I wanted to ask, like, why you think this balance between like a war story and humor. Why do you think that works so well for people?
That's a great question. The first time around reading it,
Hmm.
and again, I forget things so quickly. So maybe I noticed this the first time, but the second time, I was so aware of how, like, the setting of this book, that it
Hmm.
was set during wartime, that it plays such a big role in the story the entire time. And I thought
Yeah.
he did such a good job of kind of like, we don't know the background, but he explained things to us so well.
Hmm.
And I was thinking for someone who read this and actually knew the events of the war, like there
Hmm.
were some events that happened and I looked it up and like Cyril was a real person, for
Hmm.
example.
Yeah.
Like it must have been such an interesting experience for someone to read the book who had actually been through the war.
Yeah.
And then the second, so your question is, why do you think like it works so well if
Hmm.
it's humor and whatever?
Hmm.
I remember like a couple of years ago, I had a friend who read like a book about World War II
Hmm.
and someone who was in Auschwitz. So like they were a prisoner there, and I can't remember the name of the book, and I can ask her and find out after. But one like key takeaway from that book for her
Hmm.
was the the only way that the people in Auschwitz could survive, even though it seems crazy, is humor. Like
Hmm.
humor is what got them through like that situation where like you just don't know, like
Hmm.
it's the worst that situation that you could possibly be in. And the whole point of that book was like, as ridiculous as it sounds, like you have to find humor in even the worst of situations, and that's how
Yeah.
you move forward.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's in this book as well, is it's such a terrible situation, and like to find hope in all of that, the way
Mhm.
you do it is through humor and through
Mhm.
levity and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think like straight up, it's a coping mechanism, and I think that's a coping
Yes.
mechanism that a lot of people can relate to is humor. I also think as like a writing style or like writing kind of device is the longer descriptions of how people are feeling or like the events of the war or like the longer paragraphs of like the atrocities when it's broken up by like some of the sass funny dialogue that's very like back and forth, and then Molly will say something like snarky or funny or like like about a sexual innuendo like behind the scenes,
Yeah.
kind of quicken the
Yeah.
pace. I think like makes like really mentally interesting the story.
For sure. I was also thinking, like, I read, I read, like, I think it must have been a tweet by someone who was like, I tried to start writing a book, then I realized everything is connected. I would have to do too much research, and I stopped. And I felt like for this book, he did such a good job of having boundaries of what he wanted to
Mhm,
talk about,
mhm.
and then like lacing the humor in there. And I was gonna ask you, like, Mariah, for your book, like, did you feel like you had to stop a lot and then go and do research and come back?
Yes, that's so fun. That's a great question. But yeah, to tangent from this book, the book I'm reading, yes, because the book talks about other books and like my characters kind of build a relationship through the books they read. I didn't want the book to be about like Mariah's TBR greatest hits. And so I had to like choose books that would make more sense for the characters. And I'm like, ah, damn it. I need to like research what these books are about first or read
Yeah.
them and then it can inform how the characters feel and react to them. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very start and stop. Yes, can confirm.
For sure. Like, I was just impressed this time around about like how much research must have gone into the
Mhm,
book, you know? And
mhm.
yeah, you did so well.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But so it's funny you say that you did some research and you know that some of the characters were like based on real people. Because we're gonna watch a clip that kind of talks a little bit about that. So it's so funny you say that, and it's like for right
Yay!
now, so it's perfect.
One thing I did notice, a lot of young people come to the readings, and the young people who come there, many of them Sri Lankans, many of them don't live in Sri Lanka, and they tell me, we're aware that a war happened, but our parents don't talk about it. Our teachers don't teach. It's not taught at school. We're taught about ancient history, the kings and the colonial period, but not the last 40 years. And they said this book is the thing that made me realize all these terrible things that happened. And what I tell them is, don't just read my book. There's plenty of much better researched books on this, but you should learn about this. We should talk about it, because I think maybe that's the question at the heart of the book. How does Sri Lanka deal with its past? And that question keeps being raised. And one approach is, do we bury our past and forget about it? And that seems to be the coping mechanism. When you try and engage people with it, it's like, why write about that? Why talk about that? It happened, it was horrible, let's not dredge up those bad memories. But I don't know if that solution works. For me, it's much healthier to acknowledge, to look at the past, scrutinize it, talk about it, if for nothing else to ensure that it never ever happens again. Talking about Dr. Rajini Thiranagama, who was a professor in the Jaffna. So Jaffna is the north of Sri Lanka, which was very much the epicenter of the war. And she published writings about, she documented the atrocities on all sides, on the government side, on the Tamil Tiger side, on the Indian peacekeeping force. And yeah, she was gunned down in her 30s by the Tamil Tigers. And yeah, her daughters were quite young, I think 10 or 8 at the time. And Dr. Rajani has been written about a lot. There's been a lot of films made about her. So I wasn't, but you can see that Dr. Rani is based on this character. But I thought I'd I'd fictionalized it enough. And you're sort of worried as well. What is the family going to think? Are they going to be offended? So it was quite moving when Narmada Thiranagama and I think her other daughter Sharika, I think they're both activists and academics, wrote this and said that, I mean, she was quite right. I've never met her mum, and but she said she was just as bossy in the afterlife in this book as she was in real life, and she recognized traits, and that she had a dream after reading it that her mother, touched the back of her head, and this is stuff that you don't think about when you're writing these silly ghost stories, that you could have that kind of effect. But yeah, I immediately wrote back to her and said I was very moved by her mother's work and her sacrifice, and it's a wonderful tribute. So whether you believe in an afterlife or ghosts, it is true that what she said is it was a gift for her to see her mother alive in the pages of someone else's book. And maybe that is the power of fiction, that you keep ideas and people alive long after they are gone, hopefully long after I'm gone. I don't know if the book will be in print in 20 years. You never know. With the robots taking over, what's going to happen. But yeah, these are moments that you can't predict, but you have to value and you have to celebrate and appreciate.
Wow, what
I
a
got tears in my eyes. So cute.
first of all,
Stop.
slay man bun. First of all, slay nose ring and painted nails. Very cool.
Nose ring? I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
Damn.
he has like a subtle little stud. It's really cool.
Oh.
But a few questions based on that teary-eyed clip. Did you expect that the people in Sri Lanka like grow up and are educated, like thoughtfully avoiding the subject of the war? Did that surprise you?
No, not at all. Because because I think that a lot of countries take that approach of,
Yeah.
sweeping their history under the rug. Like
Mhm.
I think in Kenya, like we weren't taught to uh like um like when we talk about colonialism and things like that,
Mhm.
like the worst of it was hidden from us. And now growing up, I found out about a lot of it, and I didn't know of that before. And maybe
Yeah.
some of it had to do with I was a child, so maybe I didn't pay too much attention. But I do know like a lot of history is kind of like we sweep a lot of things under the rug, or even
Mhm.
in Canada when we don't talk about like, or when we sanitize kind of the history of Indigenous people and what they've had to go through here as well, right?
Yeah.
Like it, history is always kind of written by the victors, like everyone like
Mhm.
says that too, right? So
Mhm.
how they present the story is different. So no, it does not shock me that they did not learn about it.
Yeah.
And I think also when we were reading the book, like one thing that stuck out to me this time is just how many stakeholders there were in the
Mhm.
war,
Mhm.
and like how many different people were involved. So it might just be easier to just like not talk about it, than to
Mhm.
open up and analyze why certain like people were involved, why people behaved the way that they did. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, well said. And I think too, his mentioning a main theme of the book being how Sri Lanka deals with its past is apparent. Like that's not a very secret or hidden theme at all. Um, but I think it really is like it's interesting to see like how Sri Lanka deals with its past, but also how Mali does. It's kind of like everybody kind of has their own journey with that theme too. But the second question about this clip is, did you expect thoughts on like Dr. Rani being like a real person in real life, and did you expect her family to see it as like such a beautiful tribute to their mom?
No, I did not. So cute, Mariah. I did not expect Dr. Annie to be a real person.
Yeah.
And art is so important.
Mhm.
This is why it's like people should follow their callings, people should create what they want to create. I thought it was
Yeah.
so, so, so beautiful that they said that they saw their mother in it and that her personality was the same too. Or
Yeah.
even the fact that it like infiltrated her subconscious and she had a dream about her
Mhm.
mother touching her head. That's
Mhm.
so, so beautiful. I would have never guessed
Yeah.
that she was based off of a real person, no.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Karunatilaka like didn't go into this with those kind of intentions or outcomes because he was like, that's the power of fiction, I guess. And I'm like, you didn't think of that before.
Yeah, oh
It's
my
so
goodness. That's
impactful.
we talked about it a little bit before, but that's just the power of writing. Like you get
Mhm.
to like feel like he did he gave these people the feeling of like being close to their mother long after she's gone just by words on a paper. Isn't that
Yeah.
so crazy?
Yeah,
Oh,
a
I love
stranger to
it.
that family. It's that's like so
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Very nice.
yeah, but pivoting a little bit, when I was also doing more research, like via interview, I was surprised to learn that Karuna Talaka said that like Molly's being queer didn't really have any
Me too.
lots of
I
do
was
did
like,
you see that
what?
too?
I I was like, maybe I should stop watching after he said that.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you
Yeah,
mean? Yeah,
I was expecting
me
him to
too.
be like, well, but, like if he hadn't experienced the additional hardship of like queerness, this would have changed him and Dee Dee's relationship. Which is not a spoiler, I don't think. Like he has a friend and lover named Dee Dee. That's just a fact. But I was surprised that he wasn't like being queer was a plot device. He was just like, yeah, he just kind of was.
I was so hurt by that. That's when I stopped watching the videos. I was like, first of all, you did it so well. Like, it's
Yeah.
not just a plot device, like you did with your heart, you know?
Mhm, mhm.
And I was like, it's not like yeah, like it's the whole without like I don't know how to say it without it being a spoiler, and maybe we can talk about it later, but like it's it yeah, it just drives everything forwards, and it feels like it was done from such an earnest place,
Yeah.
and like the story would have been so different without it. Like I don't know that I would have enjoyed it as much if that element of the story wasn't there. And it definitely
Mhm.
didn't feel like just a plot device to me, you know, or that he
Yeah.
didn't put too much thought into it. Like he clearly did.
Yeah. Yeah. His answer when he said that too just made me think about how far we've come from like this book about being gay, and the whole book is about the struggle of being gay, and like there was kind of like a whole wave, like, you know, when it was becoming more accepted globally, like there was kind of a wave of like fiction books that were like that was the plot, is like I'm gay and it's a struggle. But the fact that this was like
Yeah.
so ingrained in this book, even from like the 90s, and to have it like be of no significance other than just like a fact of his life is kind of beautiful in a way too.
Yes. Oh, fair. True.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about like you know how heated rivalry is super popular right now.
Yeah. Where could you
Finding a way to
possibly be going with this?
Sorry. I was gonna say I think I don't know if this is like along the lines of what we were talking about, but I think part of why everyone like likes it so much is it's different than the regular story as well, and
Mhm.
it's about like joy as well.
Yeah,
And
true.
so agreed that like it was the story's like told in one type of way, and now there's like we've moved on and there's different types of stories you can tell, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's a great point. That's so funny. There
Yeah.
inside me there are two wolves. The 7 Days of Zombie Almeida and Heated Rivalry.
And that's
Yeah, yeah.
it.
That's so funny. Two more questions in this section, Sarah. Do you have a favorite passage, and is it a spoiler? If it is, we'll move it to the second section.
Um, yes, I think so. I think like the first time, I remember the first time this line stuck out to me as well, sorry. Like I remember it, I have it highlighted in my Google Photos. That's how I remember. But I really like the line that says, you know, we are a flicker of light between two long sleeps. I that so beautiful, so short, so like impactful. I love that one.
Mhm.
And then I think yeah, favorite paragraph or passage would be a spoiler. So we can
Yeah.
talk about that one later.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, Sarah, this is why we are friends. I highlighted that exact sentence to share 388 pages of this book, Sarah, and we picked the same passage.
Oh my goodness.
So that's one of my
It's
favorite. And then there's also like an additional sentence on the next page that's not quite connected, but I also really liked. But so I will read it. That I can't
what is
believe that,
it?
Sarah. That's
Oh.
crazy.
Isn't
Um,
it?
but
Yeah.
so it says, over a short and useless existence, you examined evidence and drew
Yes.
conclusions. We are a flicker of light between two long sleeps. Forget the fairy tales of gods and hells and previous births. Believe in odds and fairness and in stacking decks that are already stacked, in playing your hand as best you can for as long as you can. You were led to believe that death was a sweet oblivion, and you were wrong on both counts. And then on the second page, it says, evil is not what we should fear. Creatures with power acting in their own interest, that is what should make us shudder.
Yes. Mariah, which page is that on? I think I highlighted that one as
I
well.
am screaming. I can't believe we picked the same passage. It's 20 and 21. It's pretty quick in the book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have it bookmarked here, like dog-eared.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too. And then highlighted.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, for sure. I also just remembered while you were reading the one that like the one line later in the book that made me teary-eyed this time was like, that's the kindest thing you can say about life. It's not nothing. I really like that one too.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. That's so funny. Yeah, as
Mm.
soon as you said flicker of
We,
light, I was like, oh
yeah,
no.
we picked the same one.
That's so funny.
But it was so good.
Hmm.
This is why I take your recommendations. This is
Yeah.
why you've influenced my whole reading trajectory. Thank you so
This
much.
is why we're friends. This is why we're locked in.
Yeah.
And the last
Yeah.
question of this section is, how has the experience changed, if at all, reading the book a second time?
So I remember messaging you when I just started reading this book. So the first time I read the book, first 100 pages in one sitting, and then I
Mhm,
took my time with the rest.
mhm,
This time, it was actually a lot more difficult for me to read through the first 100 pages because the
mhm,
first 100 pages was more like setting the scene,
mhm.
and I already felt like I knew the scene, so that was hard to get through.
Yeah.
But after those first 100 pages, or the like scene setting bit of the book,
Mhm,
the rest went quicker than the first time around. So kind of like the opposite. The first one I read the scene setting very fast and I took my time with the rest versus
mhm,
this one I read the first part really slow and then went really fast with the rest.
mhm,
And then like I said, like I don't know that I paid so much attention to the war the first time around, and
mhm.
maybe it's just because of like global events of like the last couple of years. Some of these things ring like different, like the whole idea of him being a photographer and wanting his photographs to change things, and like that just I thought that like that stuck out to me a lot more.
Yeah, that's
And it's crazy how like so well executed this book was.
mhm,
Like even reading it the second time around, I didn't feel like anything was too extra or
mhm,
like anything was left undone or unsaid. And there were so many mini side plots, and I felt like they
mhm.
were also necessary too, you know?
Yes, totally.
What about you?
Yeah, I saw +1 at the like paying more attention to like the Civil War stuff, of course. I noticed
Yeah,
this time the like quips and sarcasm and like the like witty retorts he had like as a ghost behind the scenes, like more.
yeah.
I was like, oh my, like sometimes like people would say something and then he would add something like several lines down to like quip at something that was said before, and I'm like, "Oh, that was clever." I don't know, I'm not sure if I caught that the first time, but I, like, really appreciated it this time around. And
Yeah.
the only other thing I can say is I forgot major plot points. Like, I will talk about it in section 3, but I completely forgot who killed Maali.
Oh no.
I forgot and then, like, as it happened, I was like, "Oh, yeah."
What?
I totally
That's
forgot
so funny.
because that was because he was already dead, so that wasn't the point for me, so I forgot who did it.
Fair, fair. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot the little like many like mini side like plots
Mhm,
as well. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for section 2, everybody. If you want to get into the spoilers, we'll talk about the plot in depth. Stick around for the last section and cue music. First question I wanted to ask in this section here is if you are in the in between and you have 7 moons, are you gonna linger or are you gonna go right to the light? What would you do?
I'm a very path of least resistance person. So, so
Mhm.
I feel like I would go into the light, but I
Mm.
think it also depends like very morbidly on like how it happens.
Mm.
And maybe I would linger to go into like the little dream pool that they went
Mhm.
into to like visit people and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But my idea is not to linger, it's to go straight into the light. You?
Yeah, no, another way we are besties. And as I like wrote these questions, I knew your answers in my soul, and it feels fun to be correct. I would maybe stick around for 1 or 2 just to be like,
Mm,
oh my God, and see the people one last time. But I'm a pretty like,
yeah.
this is the thing that happened
Let's
and
go.
let it go kind of person. And I think I would just would have been like, well,
On to
bye.
the next one.
Especially if Senna was on the prowl, I would have especially been like, bye.
Is this person trying to convince me to do more work than I have to? Yeah, no.
No, gotta go. We're gonna protect our peace and go to the light. But
Yeah.
speaking of Senna, the second question is, would you rather have taken the guidance? Would you have been more inclined to follow, like, not knowing anything you know now, Senna
Mm.
or Dr. Rani?
I think just because of how much I liked the character, and I'm sure like he wrote it in a positive like we
Mhm,
like her like we like her from the first moment she's introduced. I would follow Dr. Rani also because she like seems sincere and things like that.
mhm.
But who knows? Like maybe if I had unfinished business, I'd follow Senna to try and wrap things up. But I like right now, I think my answer would be Dr. Rani. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, no, me too. I think too because like Molly finds out pretty quickly that Senna's like classified as like a demon, and that's enough to put me
Yeah.
off of that man. Pass.
First a man, second a demon? Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah. Men will become demons before they go to therapy, let me tell you. I also
Mm.
wanted to ask, Do you think Molly is an unlikable character? And did that change like your opinion of?
Mm. I in that same video where we watched where he said like his queerness was just a plot device, and I was offended by that statement, but maybe I shouldn't have been. Like maybe it just was. Like I was just like, no, it was more than that. But anyway, in that same video, he says that like many people told him Molly was an unlikable character.
Yeah,
I was like,
saw that
what?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not think he was an unlikable character.
No?
I thought that no, I didn't think so. Like a couple of years ago, I think like if there was a main character who like adultery was kind of like the main plot, I would dislike them immediately.
Yeah,
But I think like he's just like a traumatized war photographer,
sure.
and not to like justify any of his behaviors or anything, but I really liked him. Like I liked,
Hmm.
like you said, like his quick like responses to things, his
Hmm.
questions, like how he didn't really work for any one organization. Like I didn't think he was unlikable at all. Like I liked Molly. Like
Yeah.
he did questionable things, but I think everybody does. It would be so
Hmm.
unrealistic if he was like a perfect person who
True.
passed away and we have to relate to, but
Yeah.
I think that was my opinion. I didn't dislike him at all. I thought he was like a likable character in my books.
Wow. Okay, pageant answer. I love it. I think I could classify him as unlikable because like you were saying, his actions. Like I think he's unlikable
Yeah.
in what he did, but not who he is. But the only thing that makes me kind of waver on that is his relationship to his mom. Like I'm not sure
Mm,
he
so
treated his
true.
mom super nice, which again speaks to his actions, but maybe also to who
Yeah.
he is. Like he didn't treat her great. Like she wasn't
You're
great
so
to him
right.
either, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yo, I didn't think about that at all, Mariah. Yes, he was very mean to his mom.
Yeah.
Very, very mean to his mom.
But yeah, but I
Mm,
still think like again, I'm not perfect to everybody in my life all the time either. I think that speaks to his humanness, but
mm.
yeah, I'm not sure if that makes him wholly unlikable, but I would definitely still be like I could see why he's unlikable, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
I'm not invested in his story.
Fair, yeah. No, I definitely see why people see him as unlikable. And you know,
Mhm.
sometimes people, if the book is narrated by an unlikable character, like they can't read the book
Mhm.
either.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what my thought is. Like maybe he is an unlikable character, but I really enjoyed like reading his story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I'm with you. I also wanted to talk about the panther. I wanted to know, like, when we were first introduced to him, like he comes up to the panther and he's like, "Oh my God, you like have a soul and you can talk." And the
You're
panther's
you're
like, "What
you're
the
here.
fuck?" Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I can, like, don't offend me," essentially. And then
Yeah.
did you think that the panther would have any significance and come back, or like, did you remember that scene at all?
Mm. I I remember there being animals in the afterlife,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I also thought that, you know, a couple of years ago I was having a conversation with Arisha where I was like, humans are smarter than animals. I remember us having like an argument about like, hey, like you are clearly thinking of it from a perspective where you think you are above them, but
Hmm.
we're not. And I was trying to say like we have intellect, so we should take care of our environment and things like that.
Hmm.
And I felt like this book was an at me, where Molly was like, I didn't know you got an afterlife. And the animals were like, hey. And so I noticed throughout the book, like all the times there were animals there. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like Molly before, but I'm not anymore. And I did not expect the panther to come back. And
Hmm.
that was actually my favorite, like, paragraph or passage this time around is his
Hmm.
conversation with it.
Oh, with the panther. I also highlighted the conversation with the panther. I am screaming, we are locked in. Would you like to read the conversation?
Okay, so it's like it's called like the section is like the chat with the dead leopard, and I have like hearts all around, right?
Mhm.
And I marked like one section that says animals have souls, every living thing does. I thought it was a fun. Okay, it's a very I like the whole thing,
Mhm.
but the part that I have highlighted is when you're human, you won't remember being a leopard. Then the leopard asks him, how did you get this job if you have no clue how things work? Nothing is forgotten, we just don't remember where we put it. I really like that part of it.
Ooh, that's a great quote. That's something I did not highlight that you highlighted for once, but no, that's a really great one. I was gonna like ask what you thought like his significance was, the leopards.
Hmm.
For me, like I kind of think that like him wanting to come back as a human so bad is kind of giving me like you can't always get what you want vibes, and like just
Mm.
kind of like make peace with that was the purpose I kind of got out of him. But what do
Yeah.
you think the significance of the panther was?
I just love the whole passage so
Mhm,
much. Like, I think that agreed with you there is, you can't always get what you want. I really like the idea of, yeah, exactly that. Like, you
mhm,
can't choose, and the fact that he kept like I think he kept telling Molly like this is bigger than you.
mhm,
Like your like specific kind of things you do
mhm,
or what you think even doesn't really matter. Like it's
mhm.
outside of you and we're all kind of like connected, I think is what I took from that.
Yeah,
I don't because we're not microcosms, says the leopard. An ant colony contains the entire universe, though it's not its center, Like everybody is
yeah.
their own little world is kind of what I took away.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that. That's beautiful. And so like subtle because I think if you are just kind of like reading it to read it, you wouldn't think anything of like the Panther's first appearance, but I like how significant it ended up being at the end. If you were to get a dark power from the Crow Man, like would you want any of his like dark powers or and if so, which one?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mhm.
I would really like to fly. But but it's not a dark power and they can catch winds anyway.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
maybe the whispering. I think it would be nice to, like say final things
Yeah.
to loved ones after.
Yeah, me too.
What do you think?
As a yapper,
Mm.
absolutely. Give me
Yeah,
a
me
couple
too.
whispers. First year cap the whispers or I will dawdle. Like give me like 5 and then I'm good. But when he's like, you can even like possess bodies. Absolutely no, thank you. That
No.
is none of my business. I don't want to possess anybody's body.
Oh my goodness, true.
Mhm.
Same. A couple whispers, that's
Mhm.
it.
And then in the brief, I also had in here, I want to talk about Jackie's bravery. So, like Jackie going with the Sparrow Boy, Jackie like kind of taking the initiative to get the prints printed, Jackie getting caught and held captive in the palace and like being determined to find a way out. What a queen is all I had to say literally about that. And I was thinking to myself, if it were Dee Dee doing these things instead of Jackie, I don't think it would have had the same results because I think Dee Dee's a very like he's a lot more like woe is me, whereas I think Jackie leads with like love and determination a little more. What do you think?
100%. Like captured. Again, like this time around, I noticed Jackie and Dr. Rani a lot more than I did the first time. Again, maybe I forgot, but
Mhm.
she's so brave. And I
Mhm.
think what I really like about her character is she had to suspend disbelief for like a little bit to be like, I'm going
Mhm.
to follow this person. Or even the fact that she like she takes her happy pills and things like that. Like she
Mhm.
was the person who could follow a little bit. And I think
Mhm.
it made me feel like I should remember to not just like go down one path all the time because then
Mhm.
ultimately like she was the person who like was able to communicate with Mali and things like that. But 100% so brave, and she ended up in the palace and she got out okay,
Mhm.
and I just thought she was so brave. And this time around reading the book, I was like she was the person who kind of loved him the most, like loved
Yeah.
him enough to do all of that for him,
Yeah.
or for him to even know there's one person I know who I will, who I'll try and communicate with, and they're not gonna, like,
Mhm.
it's not gonna lead nowhere, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, exactly. I think well said. Um, yeah, I think like I wouldn't even say she's the unsung hero. She's like kind of like the forefront hero. She's like pretty plainly
The
the
hero.
hero. Yeah, yeah. But I wanted to talk about like so Molly gets his pictures that like are made to rock Sri Lanka. Like they're in the art exhibit and like people see them, but it doesn't like make the splash that he thought it would or that he intended they would. Like people just kind of like saw them and were like, "Oh my god." And like people like took them and took them home and stuff. But there was no like
Yeah,
definitive and this was widespread and this stopped the civil war. Like
yeah.
how did you feel about that? Did you want the photos to do more than they did or is it not about the photos to you?
Yeah, that was so interesting. I took note of that this time, and I
Mhm.
remember writing things down somewhere. I like wrote at the back of the book a lot of thoughts, but I
Mhm.
can't find what I wanted to say now. But I remember like reading it this time, And in the beginning, he
Mhm,
says that he wants the photos to release so they'll stop the war.
mhm,
And again, current events of the world, I was reading and I was like, oh, Molly, like it's not gonna do anything. Like this time, like I like went in with a little bit of a different perspective.
yeah,
And then in the end, when it actually didn't change anything, I thought that it was so realistic and like so like the the author wrote it really, really well.
mhm,
And again, like there's so many players in war and so many stakeholders, and like it's so hard to say, you were responsible for it. We're going to kind of like take action against you. And I kind of
mhm,
like I thought this book was so realistic this time around when I was reading it that way.
yeah,
And I would have like in an ideal world, I would have wanted the photos to end the war and
mhm.
to like, do all of that. But I read the book and I was like, yep, true, it wouldn't.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think I like the point about you saying that it's more realistic because yeah, if it had like ended the war, it would have been like nice on our brains, but it wouldn't have been realistic. I think it might have even like cheapened the plot a little bit because it's like, well, that was too much of a W. Like that's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It kind of takes you out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
yeah, well said.
yeah. Yeah, I took note of the fact that this time the whole reason why he was doing it is so that his photos can be published so that the war would
Mhm,
stop. And then that
mhm,
didn't happen in the end.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, did you think that Molly was gonna go to the light? My first read through, I was like, he's gonna be evil because this book
He's
is like hard,
doomed.
it's hard and gritty and it's realistic and it's a gut punch. I didn't think he was gonna go
Yeah.
into the light. Did you?
I also did not think he would go into the light, but he was so philosophical the whole time in the
Hmm.
book, like about what life is, about what the afterlife is, and it just felt so fitting that he went through to find out what the light is and what's after. Like I just thought it fit really well with his questioning of what everything is in the first place.
Yeah,
Like of course he'd want to know.
yeah. I was pleasantly surprised that he did, but I did not expect him to.
Yeah, no, I don't think I expected it either.
Mhm.
I this whole book, I just didn't know where it was going.
Yeah, yeah. Also, like now that we're in spoiler section, law at me, yeah, forgetting that Uncle Stanley killed.
It was out of war and everything that we thought. Like, they gave us such nice suspects and so many
Mhm,
reasons why he
mhm.
would be killed. It was his queerness that got him killed.
Yes.
So
So I'm like,
sad.
maybe the queerness did serve a purpose, but I even if he
Yeah.
were straight and he and Dee Dee were just friends, like maybe Uncle Stanley still wouldn't have fucked with that, you know?
Yeah, true. True, true, true.
But, speaking of going into the light, one of the last questions I have for you, which of the 5 drinks would you have taken? So for those who maybe can't remember or haven't heard, once you enter the light, Dr. Rani or another helper tell you that you can drink one of 5 beverages. The tea is if you wish to forget everything. The portello is if you wish to remember. The Eric is if you would like to forgive the world. This I recommend, says Dr. Rani. The Tambili is if you would like to be forgiven, and the Kola Kenda is if you would like to go where you most belong. What would you have schlurped?
Hmm, that's such a good question. I would like to take all of them, but if I had to pick one, I would go with the one that was recommended, the one to forgive everybody.
Really? You don't have enough forgiveness in yourself already, Sarah? I've met you.
But just as like one final act, everybody's forgiven.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Like that. Yeah, or the last one, I would say.
Yeah,
You?
I would say the last one just because like if somebody can decide for me definitively where I belong, I'm gonna
Mm,
take that out and like I'm gonna go serve my purpose there. But
yeah,
yeah, the forgive the world thing, I'm like I'm a
whatever.
very like live and let live kind of person.
Yeah,
So
true. Like it's already done.
yeah,
I agree. I'm the type of person where I go to a restaurant and somebody like if the waiter recommends something, I'll take that. Like no questions whatsoever.
true.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's the same situation here where if someone's recommending the third one, I'll take it no problem.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, true. Oh my God, yeah, you are very willing to go on people's journeys, and I love that about you.
Yes, that's
Was there anything else significant that you really wanted to dig into?
No, but I just wanted to say I adore this book. I love it
Yeah.
so, 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 so much. And it was such a privilege to be able to reread it again
Mhm.
and to experience it differently. And the only other book, like I said to you, like the only other book that I've ever read twice in my life was Eclipse, like the Twilight Saga. And I think this just served as a reminder that I should revisit books that I read in the past,
Mhm.
especially ones that I thought were really good, because depending on what's happened in life since then, I'll pick up
Mhm.
on different things. Or just to like,
Yeah.
sometimes I read like stinkers, so to come
Yeah.
back and just know that a book is going to be good.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Shehan Karunatilaka. This was such a nice book. He's never
Yeah.
gonna see this, but just thank you.
Yeah, yeah, true it was, and what a king he is. Well said. And I think the biggest takeaway for listeners out there is that inside Serah there are three wolves: the Seven Moons of Maali, Almeida, Heated Rivalry, and Eclipse.
No, no. The Eclipse one is long gone. It's just Heated Rivalry and Seven Moons.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Where can people find or follow you? But would you like to be found and followed, or would you like to to just stay under the
Yeah.
radar?
They can find and follow. I don't have too much that's like public, but in Instagram, Sarah Keeps Up with Friends, or Substack where it's Sarah Reads Books. But no, no, no. Sarah Keeps Up with Friends on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. I will plug that. And thank you so much, Serah, for joining me on the podcast. It was such a
Of
pleasure.
course. Thank you for having me. Bye bye.